Hi there everyone, welcome back to Dandelion Delphi Tutorials. Today we're going to look at the final of 2018 question 1. So try it yourself before you watch any further. This video all grade 11s and 12s should be able to do at this point, and grade 10 should be able to do parts of it, and at the end of the year you should be able to do the whole question. So let's have a look at question 1.1. Here is 4 easy marks. Try it yourself and I'll show you the memo soon. If you're unsure how to change these properties using code, I suggest that you push F12 and then click on the object that you have to change. I've clicked here on the panel and look at the properties here. So we have to change, for example, the font. So there's a little plus next to the font. If I click on the font, there will be a sub menu opening up. And this is now my code. It's my name of my panel, dot font, dot color. And then here you will see a whole list of names. And we have to change it to red. So we have to code CL red. And when there's a little abbreviation before a word, it means that you have to type it in as is. There is code written behind this that will change the color to red. So don't put it in quotes, just type it with a CL red after the assignment statement. They also ask you to change the background color of the panel. Now there's no property called background color. What they meant was you want to change the color of the panel and not the color of the label, which was supposed to be red. So you will see, here's my code, I'm on my panel, so it's the panel name, dot color is assigned to, so this little line here represents your assignment statement, and then you will find the code here for the color that you have to change it to. Here is the memo for question 1.1. You can see I had to change the color of the panel, that was the background color, to CL lime, no quotes, and then the font color, so it's dot font dot color to red, and then the size was dot font dot size is assigned to 20. Remember, when you see a number in the object inspector, you won't put quotes around it. And then the caption, which hopefully you all were able to manage, where we had to change the caption of the panel to Information Technology Paper 1. So here is question 1.2, where we need to apply a formula that will be given on the next page to calculate the volume. But the little trick here was that this wording here says that we're not going to fill it all the way to the top. We're going to have 1 centimeter left open at the top. Here is the rest of the question on the next page, just telling you to declare your variables and the volume, and also giving you the formula for the volume that you have to apply using Delphi code. And then I'm going to scroll down so you can see the output. Press pause and try it yourself before I show you the answer. What was important to note here is the example of output. So here's your input, and you can see that the height and the radius were both real values. So you had to declare real values to store the input from the user. Also take note of the words 1 decimal place here and the screenshot showing that we're only displaying 1 decimal place for the volume. Here is the memo for question 1.2. Remember real values for input because of the screenshot that showed us it was real input. And then very important, a lot of learners lost marks here because we had to calculate the volume that was going to be filled, and 1 centimeter at the top we had to exclude. So you had to deduct 1 from the height and then only apply the formula given. Remember, pi is a function that returns a value of pi, and then we have multiplied by the square of the radius and then the square of the height. And here's my show message, very important, check that your answer is using comma 1 at the end. Now we're going to try question 1.3, and you will see that it is asking you to display the factors and check if the number is a prime number of that was randomly generated. So you can see we're generating a random integer from 5 to 50. If you have a look at our exam guidelines of 2018, which is still being applied today, and this is now in 2020, you will see that this is one of the requirements that you need to be able to do, is find factors as well as testing if a number is a prime number. This is the example of output. You can see here 6 is generated randomly and then the factors are displayed, but it's not a prime number. Whereas when 13 is generated, we have 1 and 13 is the only two factors and 13 is a prime number. Press pause, try it yourself. I'll show you the memo soon. Just before we go to the memo, I want you to take note of the output. Can you see that the output is at the top of the rich edit every time this button is clicked? So that means you need a .clear before your output. There are many ways to solve this question. Just make sure that you are using first principles when coding this question. So we are clearing our rich edit. We're picking a random number from 5 to 50. Remember, using random range, 51 is excluded. Then we have the initialization of iCount because I'm going to count on the inside of this loop. Then I'm looping from 1 to this random number. And I'm using mod to check if k is a factor of the random number. So this is how we check for factors. If the remainder, because that's what mod produces, is 0, then I'm incrementing my counter and I'm displaying k because it means k was a factor of this random number. After my loop, I then check if iCount is only 2. That means that this number had only 2 factors, being 1 and itself, and therefore it is a prime number. So in this instance, I'm going to leave a line open as per the screenshot. Very important. This is one of those hidden questions. And then I will display the random number and is prime the label. This is the last question, and this was really testing our string handling. We have a little robot that follows instructions, and there's an example of the line of instructions. If it's an S, it means 1 step forward. If it's R, turn right. If it's L, turn left. So they have converted the line for us to capital letters, so we don't have to worry about that. And then they also cleared the output for us. So this is what you need to do. Press pause. I'm going to show you example of output just now. Make sure that you read carefully here. It says when the number of forward steps exceeds 10. That means more than 10. If you are on the 10th step, you are still allowed to turn right and left. But the moment that you go to step 11, that is when you want your loop to stop. And remember, for this question, if you are going to use a for loop, you might be making a mistake because we are not allowed to exit a for loop. We're not allowed to use exit in any loop. You have to use a Boolean value to make that loop stop once you need it to stop. The first example here does not have over 10 forward steps. So this should run without having to make your loop stop. This example will have to stop on that last S and say number of forward steps exceed 10. But what I want you to try to do is type in only 10 S's and then add R's and L's to turn left and right, because you're still allowed to turn left and right. It's only on the 11th S that your program should stop. So try that before I show you the memo. So here's the memo for our last question, and you can see here they've included the uppercase for you and also some input to make the testing easier. That is for your first set of output, and then there's a .clear. Remember to add your code after the line that says add your code here. Now I've initialized iCount, and I'm going to use iCount to continue to loop until I exceed 10. So I'm allowed to loop while iCount is 10, but the moment it goes to 11, my loop will stop here. If iCount does not reach 10, I will continue to loop throughout the line of code. And this K here is really simulating your for loop. I'm initializing K, and this allows me to go to each character in S command line. So I'm initializing here, I'm testing here. If it's less than the length, then I can continue to loop. And I have built a string with the instructions to say whether they're stepping forward, moving right or left, as string handling. So I'm building my string here. That's why I'm initializing it there. So I'm using it on both sides of the assignment statement. Before you now go to each character, you need to increment your K. So I'm going here, I'm using a case statement. Again, many ways of solving this question, but I'm using a case statement since I'm dealing with char data types. So this here is a single character at a time. If it is S, I'm incrementing my counter. Now I first need to test if I'm still allowed to move forward. So if this counter is still less or equal to 10, very important that equal to, then I will add the instruction step forward with a #10 inside of my string S instruction that I'm displaying at the bottom. If this number is not less or equal to 10, I will then say the number of steps forward exceeds 10. And then here at the bottom, I'm just adding my right and left turns. So let's say I was at step 10. If I go in here and the next character is an R, I can still turn right and left. So I'm able to turn right. If I loop again and the next character is an L, I can still turn left. It's the moment that I go in here and then another S is added that I have to make my loop stop. And then here at the end, I'm just displaying my instruction in the rich edit. You could also just put the instructions here in your rich edit if you preferred it that way. What was very important is that you did not use an exit inside of your loop. Remember, no exit is allowed inside of your loop. You have to find a way of stopping your loop with a condition in the while heading. I want you to test your program with input similar to this. I want you to put down 10 forward steps and then a bunch of R's and L's to turn left and right. Your code should be able to show you left and right up to there, but on the last step, that is when it should make your loop stop. Also make sure on the last S that it does not show step forward again. It should be showing the number of steps forward exceeded 10. Thank you for watching Dandelion Delphi tutorials. If you feel that you need more practice with this question 1, you can go back to my book 1 where all this content is covered for this question 1 of your final in grade 12. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you soon.